Good afternoon. I got on here early this morning because I had some things on my heart, and I'm I'm just determined that today is going to be a great day. No matter what, today is going to be a great day. In spite of the fact that 7 years ago my first husband passed. But I'm not here to talk about that right now. I'm here to talk about what happened after that. No, well, after my broadcast podcast, whatever it is this morning, I decided that I was going to go do my volunteer at the food bank, which I do once a month. Um, so I got quickly went and got ready, got the dogs fed and walked, got me fed, and jumped in my car. I was pulling out my driveway and I got a phone call. And I was like, huh. So it said private on there, private number. And I normally wouldn't answer that. I was kind of leery about that, number one. And so I said, hello. And they said, is this Christy? And they called me by by my first last name. And I said, I was. I'm not now. And then he goes on and says, this is Lieutenant so and so. I'm with the Dallas Sheriff's Department. You did not come to jury duty yesterday, show up. You signed a form that said that you would be here, and just all kinds of stuff. There's an arrest out for a warrant out for your arrest. Here's what you need to do. And he said, do you have a piece of paper? I said, I'm driving. But I said, I'll go back in my house, so I backed up in my garage. He said, you need some paper to write all this stuff down. So I was like, okay. So I ran in the house, I grabbed some paper, and I'm frantic because I don't miss jury duty. I don't miss anything like that. I am a law-abiding citizen to the best of my ability. And he was telling me, this is all this stuff is going to happen to you. You're going to go to jail. There's a warrant out for your arrest. And there's two different ways that you can do this. You can come in and civilly take care of this, or you can come in and do it the other way, and we're going to arrest you criminally. Do it, and we're going to arrest you, and you'll have to sit in jail until this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh snap. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to him. I'm writing everything down like he said. He says, you can't tell anybody about this. And so that was number 2. And I was like, so I can't even tell my mother that I'm going to the sheriff's department? And he's like, no, you can't tell anything, because if you do, you have to bring her with you, or just all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, all right. Something didn't sit right with me, but I was too scared to stop. And I wrote everything down. Then they said, well, you have to, we're going to do an account of all, we are freezing all of your financials. And until you pay these fees, your bond or whatever it is. I don't even remember what it is. Until you pay all this, oh, it's on my phone. Everything's going to be frozen, but after you pay all this, you'll be free to go. And I'm like, so he said, read all this stuff out loud. So I read it all out loud. Okay. Here's one of them. Okay, let me see if I can get it back. For failure to appear in court, a $6,000 uh, penalty. Let's see. Contempt of court, $6,000 penalty. Avoidance of civil duty, $6,000. Let's see. Total security of 180,000, 10% increment placed towards security bond. That's what it is. They wanted me to put a security bond. 18,000. I'm thinking, snap! I don't just keep 18,000 on hand. Uh, I just don't. And they're like, well, you need to make sure that you bring all your credit cards, all assets, all your retirement accounts, your IRAs, your Roths, your 401s, all that stuff. Everything has to be accounted so that we can make sure that you have the money to pay it. And if you don't, and you're proving that you don't have the money, then we can help you minimize it. But you have to have all this, and you have to bring your credit cards so that you can do cash advance on them. Well, that kind of seems strange. And I'm like, I don't know where my credit cards are. Honestly, I don't use credit cards. I have used them. I personally froze them. I called the credit card company and said, I want you to freeze them. I don't want them used until I pay them off. And then I'll be very selective in using them then. And so, man, they were just hounding me. And I'm like, I don't know where they are. Well, you have to bring them. Get on your computer and see what your cash advance is. And it's like something just didn't seem right. But I was scared about going to jail and leaving my mother here. Who's going to come take care of her? I don't have anybody that I could think of, call automatically. And God, how am I going to pay this? And all these thoughts are going through my head. And it's like, oh no. Oh no. So I am in a little bit of a freak mode because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to leave my mother alone. I had there was somebody that was supposed to come stay in my spare room. And just there were so many things. And then for my business, I had a meeting at noon. I had this, I had that, and calls here and all kinds of stuff. So I was really freaking out, and I wasn't dressed. I was dressed to volunteer. I wasn't dressed to go to court. I said, "Well, I've got to go change clothes to come to be presentable for court." Okay, you can do that, but you have to keep us on the telephone. Well, that's like number 4. You have to keep us on the telephone. And then they switched over to somebody else, and when they switched over to somebody else, the call dropped. And I'm like, snap, they're telling me that I can't hang up. And I have to stay on the phone with them as long as I am driving to the courthouse. And I'm kind of freaking out here. So I just, after a while of being on the phone with them and looking for my credit cards and not being able to find, I said, you know what? I'm just going to come up to, I'm skip all this trying to find these cards. I don't know where they are. And it's taking up time that I really just don't have. So I'm going to take my chances, and I'm coming up to the sheriff's department. I'm going to come up there and I'm just going to turn myself in. You realize you're going to be arrested as soon as you put your foot on federal ground. Yes, I do. I realize that, but I'm going to take my chances. So I had changed clothes, and I took all my jewelry off, and grabbed my purse, got in my car, and drove up there. While I was on my way up there, I had been praying in my spirit, some out loud, some in my spirit, just all kinds of things. And I'm like, God, what are we going to do about this? We're one in this. How do we deal with this? How do you want to pay for this? Because I don't want to call my sister and ask her for money, which I told my mother later. I'll tell you that later. Um, I don't have anybody else that I know of that I could call and say, "Hey, I'm in a bind. Can you help me?" And I just not going to do that. And it wasn't just about being in a financial bind. It was about being in a bind of having someone to take care of mother. What am I going to do if they arrest me? I don't have anybody to take care of mother. And then they're like, well, you can't call anybody. You can't tell anybody. You could call an attorney, but if you do, you have to keep us on the line and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh gosh. So I'm driving up there, and the Lord is like, I'm taking care of you. And I'm like, okay, you're going to take care of me, but if they arrest me, then what? What do we do then? And he just kept saying, just think about it. I'm going to take care of you. And I had to really do some thinking. When I got to the point where I wasn't freaking out so much and trying to think about what am I going to do? And I was thinking, God, what are you going to do? How do you want to handle this? How do you want to take care of me? And I just started having such peace. His peace came over me just like a warm blanket. And I'm like, okay, this is not real. This is not real. This is not really happening. I'm still going to go to the sheriff's department. I'm still going to say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm turning myself in. You can do whatever. Just my mother needs to be taken care of." So I get up there. It cost me $6 to park, and I go in and I ask, "Where's the sheriff's department?" They said, "Go to that desk right there." Went up to the guy and I said, I was told that I have a warrant out for my arrest and for not showing up for jury duty. He said, it's a scam. He said, you didn't give them any money, did you? I said, no. They were trying to get money. He said, did they ask you for money? I said, no, they didn't ask me for money. They were trying to find out how much money I have and stuff like that. And I don't disclose things. You never disclose your business. But I just didn't know what else to do. I'm sitting here being compliant and I'm looking in my phone, and I know I got a couple of extra checking accounts from my husband, Robert, my last husband, Robert. And so I'm looking in those. One of them I can get into, the other one I can't. Don't know the password. Don't even know where the password is. So it's just so funny to me. Anyway, so when he confirmed that it was a scam, which they don't do anything about, no government agency is out to help people to catch these they are business people, but they're lucrative business people, but they're thieves. They behave in a way that is thievery. So let's just say it that way. So here's what I learned. Because I'm in Wealth with God with Jim Baker, Pastor Jim Baker out of Powell, Ohio. And I've been in that for several years. And recently the classes started again. Actually, yesterday we had a class. And he was talking about how things are not up to us to get God's approval. I'm going to just hear the questions. Okay, so the lesson is the only people the Father blesses. Me? Anybody that makes a mistake, that's the people that God blesses. Okay, so in this lesson, we were to ask the Father one question. Father, where am I still trying to become worthy of what you already gave me in Jesus? And the second part is, and I listened for him to ask one back this question. Will you stop trying to deserve what I already gave you in Jesus? Wow, that's a mind blower right there. So the next part is, where have you been living forgiven and not qualified? Forgiven but not qualified. Sure that God forgave your past, but not sure you're worthy to receive his help now. That it's up to you. If it's to be, it's up to me is a lie. That's a lie. If it's to be, it's up to three plus me. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit plus me. What blessing or provision have you disqualified yourself from? And what I was going over in my mind when these people were saying, telling me you've got to bring all this money. Well, they weren't telling me this. They were having me read the affidavit online so it could be recorded for court and all this stuff, which is dangerous in itself. Don't ever do that. Now they have a recording of my voice. Didn't think of that. That's 4 or 5. I've lost count. And the next one is, now take the exact place to Jesus that you're disqualifying yourself to him and ask him, who do you want to be for me here in the place I've been trying to earn what you already gave me? So that was the question that I was asking him on the way to the sheriff's department to turn myself in. Who do you want to be for me here in the place right here, right now? How do you want to pay for it? Who do you want to be for me? And in this, where I'm trying to earn this, where I'm trying to figure it out for myself. I don't have you here with me is the mentality, but that's the wrong mentality. That's a lie. Then you get quiet and write down what he shows you. I couldn't do that in the car. And I wasn't sure about all this until a big dog, Wanda, gave me a call today. Well, she was trying to get on my schedule. And so I had a few minutes and I called her and said, hey, what do you want? And we started talking about this and I was telling her about it. And all this started coming to my mind about, wow, this really did happen. Towards the end of the conversation with those people, I told them I've been scammed before. And this really sounds like a scam, and I'm just going to go take my chances. They hung up. So here's some things that I learned. that God is my protection. God protects me. If He didn't protect me, I think here's some of the ways that I was protected. One, I put my credit cards up somewhere. I told him I'm not using these anymore. I'm a lender, not a borrower. So I'm putting them up. I don't need to use them. If I'm going to live within my means, period. And if you can't provide for me, then it's not going to be done. Guess what? He does. That was one. The second way was that he had, I'm going to say he had me freeze my credit cards, but it may have been both of us. I may have heard him say it. I may have just done it on my own. But it was wisdom no matter what. And then here's another thing. I can't do these financial things in my own strength. If that really would have been for real, I'd be in jail right now. I'm not. God is my source. That's another thing I learned. No, that it's not so much that I learned that, it's that I've been meditating on that for almost a year, for a year or more. God is my source. That's where all good things come from. So, and I remember while I was driving, it was, okay, Lord, if this is really of you, then I guess I'm going to jail, and who's my divine appointment? That was my attitude. Who's my divine appointment? And I remember listening to Jamie Winship give his testimony about being in a Muslim country, and he was teaching over there at a university, and he just let something slip, and he got arrested. And if you're not Muslim, you can't defend yourself in court. I don't have anything to drink. You can't defend yourself in court. So he was in court. They're going to put him in prison for 10 years. And he's like, okay, God, just, I guess I'll take care of my family. What am I going to do? I'm just like, wow, all these things that I've been listening to for over the past year, those are things that are coming to me. It's like you think that you don't need to listen to the Bible. You don't need to listen to different people on podcasts talking about their lives and the things that they go through, and how God helps them. And you may think, I don't need all that. But you know what? In times like this, that's when it all comes up. That's when it's like you've been putting in, you've been eating and taking in that fertilizer, and now here it is, your flowers are blooming. Let them bloom. But in order for your flowers to bloom, you got to feed them, fertilize them. I wrote these things down. I did start thinking about, on my own, I did start thinking about who could I get to help me? Who could I get to help me? And it was like, no, 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 no. And then when I finally just said, okay, God, how do you want to pay for this? How do you want to deal with this? When I finally gave up and said, it's up to you, that's when I got the peace. Here I am. I didn't get arrested. It cost me probably $20, which I was ticked off about paying the $20. But then if you put it on a broader perspective, paying $20 is a whole lot better than paying somebody being scammed out of 18,000. Because if they scam you once, they'll come back and try again. And being scammed is not my favorite thing. It's happened to me before. It cost me a lot of money. I had to go pay the bank back. I did. So thankful for the men's brigade at Gateway Church for coming and giving that talk months ago. I'm thankful Mother and I went to that. I'm thankful that they kind of put that bug in my ear so that when it did happen, these things were happening. It's like, because it's scary if you don't know. And not having anybody that I can go to and say, hey, this is happening, or look, it's just too scary. So, with all that said, I hope this helps you. I really do. I just really felt like I needed to get on here, and if it doesn't, if I'm the only one that it helps, thankful, you know. But if it helps one person for me to get on here and talk about the things that happen in my life, I'm excited. It's excited. So, hey, if you like this content, would you hit the like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell? Leave me a comment. I read them. So that would be great. All right. Thank you. God bless y'all. Have a great day. I'm going to my next meeting. Bye.